Alright, for this video I'm going to be using my actual real Turnitin account to show you how to add assignments. So you can see that I have already uh, set up a class period for each of my classes, and I followed my own advice and I put a number for each class period of the day in front of the name so that they would fall in the same order that I teach them instead of in alphabetical order, which can make things funky. I just wanted to show you as well that just in case halfway through the year a new kid comes to the school and you have to get them signed up for your class and you have forgotten all the information on how to do that, if you click the edit button over here next to a class, it's going to show you what you set up as the enrollment key here, so that's your password. And whenever you're just in your home view, you can always see what the class ID number is. So a kid would need that class ID number and that enrollment key that you got over here in edit to join the class at some point, or at any point in the year rather. So this morning I have been busy and I have been setting up all of the vocabulary assignments for the whole year. And I've got one left to do. So yours may be blank, but you'll still have this add assignment button, which you're going to click. And the type of assignment that you'll use 99% of the time is paper assignment. Peer mark, revision, and reflection are all sort of more advanced types of assignments, and you're welcome to use those, but they're not generally what you're going to want for a kid that's just turning in homework. So just click paper assignment, click next step. We're going to wait for this to load. This is definitely adding some realism. There we go. All right, sorry about that. And you're going to see a screen that looks like that. So you'll make up your assignment title. For me, my assignment title is Extra Words 2. You do not have to put in a point value in here. It is unlikely that you're actually going to do much grading or grade posting in Turnitin.com if you're like me. So if you want to mess with all that, feel free, but if you really just want the functionality of a place where the kid turns in the assignment and you find out if it's on time and you look at it to make sure that the originality content is acceptable, then don't bother putting in a point value. So the date that this assignment is going to be due is in May, because it's my last one of the year. So you're going to first just leave the start date alone. Start date is when you want, well, you don't have to leave it alone, but it's the date that you want a kid to be able to see the assignment that you've posted. So if you want to delay that, then put in whatever date you want until they can see it. For me, for this, I like for the kids to be able to post any vocabulary assignment at any point that they want. If they want to go on a spree and do it for the whole year in the first week of school, it's never happened, but they can. So the start date is when you want them to see it. The due date is when it is due, and in Turnitin you need to think both in terms of the date and the time of day that you want it to be due. So you could adjust it to be due at the start of class time. The default should be 11:59 p.m. If you teach younger kids and you're thinking, I don't want them up that late, then you can adjust the default time to be, say, 8 p.m. So for me, it's going to be in May. Now you can use this little drop-down guy here if you're in the same calendar year, but of course May is in 2020, so I'm going to have to click over this way to get to May of 2020. And it's going to be due on the 6th, so I'm going to, or rather on the 8th, so I'll click that. Post date is the date at which students could start to see your comments or reactions to any assignments in Turnitin.com. Again, most people aren't really going to use this function of it, so I don't adjust it. All of my assignments are going to have the same post date of August 19th. So then I am going to go down into optional settings, and this is matters of preference. First thing that you might want to consider is, do you want them to continue to turn in assignments after the due date, or do you want that to be blocked? I always leave yes checked. It's still going to be very clearly highlighted as late, even if they turn it in 20 seconds after the time and the date that you set. So I'll still be able to see if it's late, but I want them to be able to put it in here. I don't want them to be blocked out of submitting it, because at Stanislaus we do accept late work with whatever penalty that you're going to decide to give it. Do we want it to check for similarity? This is the plagiarism check, and the answer is generally yes. And I generally check immediately here, and I also choose they can overwrite the reports until the due date. Effectively, what that means is if a student turns it in before due date closes, they can see the similarity report, see if something was marked as potential plagiarism, and they can delete their own assignment, correct it, and put it back in. So the argument against that would be you don't want them to basically be in a sort of bidding war where they see how much plagiarism they can get away with. And the argument for it is, why not let the kid be able to fix it? The goal is for them to understand what plagiarism is. So it's up to you. I always choose this one. So you make your own choice. And I think it's, in this case, when it says due date, it means the calendar day and not the time. So it has to be put in and pulled back down the day before, I believe. All right. Do you want them to exclude bibliographic materials from similarity index? That would be things like citation and bibliography entries, which it will attempt to, the program will try to ascertain what that includes. It may or may not do that successfully, so you can check yes or no there. You want to exclude quoted materials from similarity index for all papers. So that would be anything that's in between quotation marks. You can click yes. Now, word of caution. Well, first, a word of reassurance. If the kid puts the entire assignment inside of one set of quotation marks to try to do an end run around the plagiarism checker, it will detect that, and it will tell you that the student has exceeded the amount of, or the amount of quoted material has exceeded whatever their percentage is, 25% or something, so that you can see that the kid did that. Even if they make the quotation marks white so they don't show up on the page, the code is still there, and it will still tell you if they tried to do an end run around you on that. So I always just go ahead and click yes, and make students aware that that's how this works. It's not foolproof. Sometimes if a kid puts in a space after a quotation mark, the program reads it as an end quote rather than a starting quote, and therefore doesn't exclude the material. And that is why you always want to cast your own non-digital eyeballs over any paper before deciding that it contains plagiarism. But that's another video. This, I don't even exactly know what it means. I don't worry about it. Do I allow students to see the similarity reports? Yes, I do. Shockingly few actually look at them, even to save their own hides, but I want it to be an option. Again, I'm not even sure what the deal is with this, so I always just leave it on the default. And search options, most of this stuff, just leave it all on the default. If you wanted to attach a rubric, you could do that, but again, I've never particularly enjoyed grading assignments and Turnitin, so I don't mess with that. All right, I know that was a lot, but that's what I leave in the default, and that's what I make sure to adjust as I do. So that should be my last vocabulary assignment for the school year, and that is how you put in an assignment.